Hello, I'm here at Lake Tahoe, beautiful surrounding behind me. Today I'm going to talk to you about triathlon race strategy. So the morning of the race, I'm probably going to want to get to the transition area at least an hour before. Some people like to get there more. If you've racked your bike at the transition the night before, then one of the first things you want to do is go check your tire pressure. If you need to use a pump, add some pressure, get it to the PSI that you want it. Make sure you don't have a flat tire. From there, if you have to go to the bathroom, the lines tend to get longer the closer you get towards the race, so I like to get in there a little bit earlier if I can. Set up your transition area, and then definitely do a walkthrough of transition. So go to where the swim exit is and know where the swim entrance to the transition is, and then physically walk through what you're going to do when you get your bike. Where is the bike out? Where's the mount dismount line? And then walk back in as if you're coming in on your bike, that you'd rack your bike, know where the run out is. What I'll do when I come in from the swim exit is count the rows. So I'll go, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows down, take a left about halfway down, that's my bike. So you want to know how you're going to be able to find your bike. Also know how getting out, okay? Get on your wetsuit, at least probably 20-15 minutes before the race. That way you can get into the water and warm up. You do want to definitely do a quick little warm up, so you're not just hitting the swim without any kind of warm up at all. For all the segments of the race, break them up into chunks. So for the swim, know where you're at as a swimmer. If you're a stronger swimmer, get to the front so that you don't have to pass a lot of people. If you're a little bit more nervous about swimming, think about starting off to the outside. So don't get on the buoy line, get to the outside. That way, if things get a little congestion, you can move over a little bit and you can get some free swimming space, some free air without people climbing all over you. If you're a really nervous swimmer, get to the back and even maybe just count to 5, which will seem like an eternity after your swim wave starts. Also be aware that most triathlons these days do have swim waves. And so there might be some people coming up behind you during the race, maybe a couple times, depending on your swim ability. Okay. For the swim race itself, break it up into chunks. So that first, 2-3 minutes, you're probably going to be swimming really hard. And you're going to be breathing really hard. So as soon as possible, you want to get into your rhythm, get your breathing back, so that it's nice and fluid, just as you are swimming in the pool. Think about your stroke mechanics, think about your hand entry, think about your glide, think about your catch. Go through those things as you swim, and that'll help you get into a rhythm. Know that when you come up to a turn buoy, those are always usually very congested. So if you're a little bit nervous, go swing a little bit wider around the buoy, and that'll be less congested. Oftentimes what I'll do is, as I'm swimming, be aware of my surroundings, and if I'm swimming with a group of people but there's a gap in front of me and I'm coming up to a turn buoy, I might put in a little bit of a faster swim for about 50 yards to gap that group to make it around the buoy fairly easily. Also, when you come around the buoy, take a sighting of where the next buoy is so that you're on the line, and to that extent you should have a plan. Every 10 to 20 strokes, look up, sight the buoy in front of you, make sure that you're moving in a straight line the direction that you want to go in. One of the worst things, which happens a lot when you're new, is you don't sight, and then next thing you know, you're way off course, and then you end up swimming a lot longer, expend a lot more energy, get more tired. Okay, so work on your sighting. If you need to, you can break the race up. The longer the races are, the more you're going to need to break them up into segments. So if it's an Ironman swim, 2.4 miles, you're going to need to maybe break that up into 3 or 4 segments. The shorter the race, you can think about it as one segment. If there's a couple turn buoys, you can just think about getting to the first turn buoy, then getting to the next turn buoy, and then getting into the finish. As much as you can, the day before the race, practice where the swim exit is. So if you're swimming back towards the beach, where's the sun at? Where are there any landmarks that you can see? Any noticeable tall trees, buildings, flagpoles, something very distinctive that you can see that you can use on race day to make sure you're swimming straight in. Okay, as you're finishing the swim until your hand can touch the bottom and then stand up. One of the things you don't want to do is stand up in water that's waist deep and then try to run through it. So swim in as far as you can. Pop up, put your goggles up. Start getting your wetsuit down to your waist as you're coming up out of the water. Get to your transition. Go through your transition. You've probably practiced that. You have your sequence in hand. As the great John Wooden said, be quick but not in a hurry. So you want to move through the transition quick, but you don't want to be in so much of a hurry that you forget things. Okay. So then you already know where the bike out is. You're gonna grab your bike. You're gonna hop out there. Probably want to not really eat a whole lot in the transition, just because you can save time by getting out on the road, and you can drink and bike while you're riding. So you can do those two things at the same time. Maybe even give yourself 5-10 minutes of cycling without taking in anything, just to give the blood a chance to switch from your upper body of swimming to your legs. Okay, so it doesn't get the brain doesn't think that the blood is needed in the digestive system. Same thing on the bike. You want to break up the course. So if the course has a couple significant climbs on it, think about that climb as one section. The more you think about just a bit of a section at a time, the more you'll focus on that section, and it won't be so overwhelming, especially as the race is longer. Okay. So if let's just say there's nothing necessarily significant about the race, but say you're doing a half Ironman, you should still break it up into at least 2 or 3 sections. That first 5-10 miles, just get into your rhythm. Every about 30 to 45 minutes, go through a body check. Your abs engaged, or your hands nice and light on the handlebars, versus if you're on the aero bars. If you're really leaning in and your shoulders are getting too tired, can you relax somehow? Can you engage your glutes? Do you have a nice spinning rhythm so you're not burning out your quads for the run? Okay. So just think about, one section at a time. So if it's the first 10 miles, you're just concentrating on that first 10 miles, how you feel. If your next section is another 10 miles, then you're just concentrating on that 10 miles. So whatever you need to do to break that race up into small, manageable chunks, do that. Look at the course profile. If there's certain areas that lead themselves to a section, make that a section, and just think about one section at a time. As you're finishing the bike ride and you're coming in about 5 minutes before the bike ride, start to think about your transition. Start to think about the routine that you're going to come in on the bike, how you're going to get your shoes on, grab your stuff, head out for the run. Okay. Your hip flexors are going to be a bit tight coming off the bike, so your first several steps, maybe first mile, just think about taking shorter steps, higher turnover. Typically what happens is you end up running a lot faster than you think you're going to be running, so you're going to feel really slow. But then you're going to go through that first mile check, and you're going to go, oh, it's a little bit faster than I thought. That's very common, right? As you practice your bike to run transitions, you'll get more used to that feeling, that sort of dead leg feeling that you get when you come off the bike and you run. Same thing on the run. If it's a 2-lap course, you might make each lap one section of the run. If it's a longer race like a half Ironman and it's 2 laps, maybe you just need to make it a half of a lap, because that's going to end up being about 3.5 miles. So that's probably a sizable chunk. I usually take the first mile and I make that its own section mentally, and I just want to think about getting into the rhythm and being as smooth as possible. Let myself settle into the run. Then I'll look ahead to like mile 1 to mile 4 as a section. Not because if I start at mile 2, if I start thinking about how I'm going to feel at mile 11, that's too far. I just need to stay in the moment, stay with what I can do right now. Just concentrate on these next 2 or 3 miles, and when I get to mile 4, mentally I'll shift to thinking, okay, let's just get to mile 7. Then I'll be halfway through this half Ironman run, and then I know I'm on the backside of it. I'll be feeling better because I've already accomplished the good portion of the run course. Same thing as before. If there's certain sections on the run, if there's a tough hill on the run, you can make that its own section, so you're just concentrating on your uphill running form, going up that form. Okay. And just as you did on the bike, every 30 to 45 minutes, about every 30 minutes on the run, go through a mental check, a physical check. How are my hands? Have my hands dropped in there really low, and then that's making me a bit slower? Do I need to bring my hands up so that I have more freedom of motion through my shoulders? It'll get my legs turning over quicker. Can I relax at all? If I'm really tight up here, can I turn my hands over, let my hands drop so my shoulders are relaxed? How's my turnover? Can I engage my core to be a little bit stronger? Think about those things. You should also, for the whole race, you should have your nutrition plan planned out. How often are you going to fuel on the bike? Are you going to make sure you drink a bottle of water or sports drink every hour? If it's a hot race, you need to drink more than that. What kind of calories are you going to eat from your food sources? And then same thing on the run. Are you going to carry any hydration with you, or are you just going to rely on the aid stations? Do you like the food they're serving on the course? If not, then you're going to need to take some of your own food with you on the bike and the run. Those are all the things that you want to think about going in to have the perfect race plan. All right, hit me up with any questions. Talk to you later.